Welcome to Wager Talk TV. Kelly Stewart here. You guys know me as Kelly in Vegas. And you might know him from the show Puck Time, but also Andrew McInnis is our resident CFL betting expert. And CFL season kind of gives you that early fix, right? NFL season still a little ways away. But Andrew, one of the things we haven't talked about before is how to actually bet the CFL and some of the differences between the NFL and CFL, right? Yeah, we turn on the TV, we see the football being thrown around. We just assume, well, most Americans just assume it's a very similar sport, and it is. But there are some key differences. And so when you go to handicap the CFL, you told me the most important thing is understanding the difference in the rules.
Absolutely, Kelly. I get so many funny DMs and messages on multiple social media platforms asking me, what's going on here? What's the deal with this? I'll tell you the first difference. The field is longer, it's wider, it looks different. It looks like everybody should be scoring a touchdown every possession. It's not that easy. But of course, the field goal posts are inside at the front of the end zone, not near the end. There's a ton more space out there for the players to make plays. That's one notable difference you'll see the first minute you watch a CFL game. It is bigger, it is longer. The second one, 12 players for each side on the field at once instead of 11, which you might not think makes that much of a difference. But of course, for making plays and for finding open guys with the bigger field, it definitely creates more offense. And then the third difference, well, there's only 3 downs. So instead of saying 3 and out, it's 2 and out for these teams. Unless, of course, you do go for it on third down, which makes for a big difference. So for all the people that say there should be so much more offense because of the bigger field, well, you only get 3 downs. So it's a bit different than the NFL.
Brandon Banks is the first thing that comes to mind whenever I think of the CFL. Resident K-State fan here. And he was so prolific in the CFL, mainly on special teams. So talk to me about why special teams is so important when looking to handicap the CFL.
Well, one rule difference that I didn't mention off the top was the rouge. And CFL, it looks like NHL sometimes because you'll turn your TV on and the score is 2-1 in a football game. And I get people asking me how it's possible to score 1 point. Well, special teams, having a great punter, having a great kicker that can kick the ball through the end zone, that will earn you a point. Or if you kick a field goal, you miss it, but the guy behind the goalpost, the uprights, can't get that ball out of the end zone. That results in a point as well. But a big thing and a big factor to mention, there's no such thing as a fair catch in the CFL. You have to give the punt returner 5 yards of space, and then they go every single time. So you need to have a great punt returner, but you also need to have a great punter. And of course, with only having 3 downs, if you have a good field goal kicker, it makes a big, big difference in this league, Kelly, because some teams, their field goal kicker has a bigger range than the opponent. It's made very clear, and it forces teams to have to go for it on third down, where some teams are confident in their kicker to go for the big field goal.
Ooh, that is the one thing that has come to bite me a couple times in my CFL bets. We'll get into some more stuff here in a minute. If you guys are looking for team previews, those will be up on the Wager Talk YouTube channel here shortly. Andrew and I are going to go through all of the CFL teams and give you some season win totals, maybe some season-long props, and who we think maybe is going to win the Grey Cup. Andrew, let's get into a little bit more of these questions. I think this is where it gets a little difficult for most Americans, right? They want to bet everything. We want to have a good time. We want a reason to bet it, but we don't have any data going in early into the season, right? The CFL isn't like the NFL. We don't have a lot of long-term contracts and so forth. So early in the season, right, which is in the next few weeks, what should we be looking at?
The number one thing I look for is chemistry, cohesion, and a lot of the players and coaching staff remaining the exact same from years past. I'm not saying it's not a good thing to dip your toes in the free agency waters, add a player here, add a player there that can benefit your roster, but sometimes it can take a few weeks, and the CFL is a long season. So early on in the season, I want to be betting my money on the teams that have a lot of the same roster as we saw last year. Also, we're going to see these favorites come out with some big, juicy numbers. And a lot of times I like to bet underdogs early on. We say this in a lot of sports, but these bad teams don't know they're bad yet. And a lot of times you get discouraged about the midway point of the season, but early on, these teams have confidence. They're feeling good about themselves, and players are fighting for positions. And every team is still figuring out kind of how they're going to play under their systems of their coach that year. So looking to bet underdogs early on and looking to bet teams that have a lot of chemistry from already playing in years past together.
All right, if you're looking for some help on your CFL bets, AM25 right now get you 25% off any product on Andrew's homepage. That is wt.buzz/AM. Andrew, that gets talked about all the time in the NFL, right? Oh, West Coast teams going to the East Coast, and then we write it off and say that's not a thing anymore. We have, jets. These teams fly quickly within 5 hours from West Coast to East Coast, and so forth. But you actually think that the travel schedule in the CFL is a detriment. I mean, obviously, geographically wise, we know Canada is just as large, at least lengthwise, as the United States. So going BC to Toronto could hurt some teams, but in a different way. Explain to me why.
Every year I find myself saying, wow, the schedule makers really didn't like this team. I don't know what they did to this team, but the schedule makers are really going out for this team this year. It makes a big, big difference, Kelly, whether it's West Coast team returning home, whether it's them traveling around the Eastern Division, whatever it may be, that it's really taxing and it really adds up, especially once the season's underway. I looked back some of these road teams that are traveling east to west, maybe early on in the season when you haven't really had to worry about travel fatigue. But midway and later in the season, you really want to try and focus in on who are the well-rested teams, who are the not so travel teams, and try and look at the point spreads from that perspective. I don't like using the casual handicapping terms with the sandwich and the letdown and all that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you what, in the CFL, you can find a lot of really good letdown spots for a team that went on the road, had a successful road trip, took care of business, and then they go home. They're home favorites, probably laying more than they should. And then you can back that underdog to cover the point spread, sprinkle on that money line, because that team that just got home, they might have home field advantage, but they still feel like they're on the West Coast. I love those spots, and I love following the CFL schedule and the travel for some of these teams.
If you're looking for some stuff on social media, you guys can follow Andrew's X at McInnis Picks. He gives out a ton of great information over there as well. Andrew, anything you would like to leave our audience with?
I just want to say, to start the season, we've got games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a really great season. And you guys can find me, of course, at wt.buzz/AM, and also follow me for all kinds of free picks like you mentioned as well, Kelly. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Andrew. We will see you here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel for all those CFL team previews.